Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 211. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Sunday. It is June 8th, and the vibes are at, I could probably say, an all-time low with confidence on this podcast. I am joined today by Stephen Tolbert because, look, Stephen is in the country. I guess Scott's in the country, but not really. He's not in the 48 states. Stephen, I'm going to go ahead right now and apologize to you for having asked you to do this podcast. How are you?
Hey, buddy. It has been a week. We did those shows. Sean and I did a show on Wednesday. You did a show on Thursday. And we really thought we were kind of at the low point. And it's funny, when you come off a season where you started 0-7 and you were 5-13 at one point, you kind of at least feel like you've experienced the low point of that season. The Braves, however, had other things in mind because what they've done over the last 2 or 3 weeks has driven us to a low point we didn't really think was possible with this team. And we're going to get into all the gruesome details. We're going to go game by game, but it's been brutal. It's been absolute brutal. There's no other word for it. Watching these games have just been painful. It's just agonizing loss after agonizing loss. They're inventing new ways to lose. It's actually kind of been unbelievable, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a word. I think Snicker might have said the word unbelievable over the weekend at some point in an interview. I don't want to overstate it, but yeah, it kind of is. And look, I think it's pretty obvious if you pay attention to the team for a long time, but this is pretty much the low point for the franchise since 2017. Since the rebuild, since the kind of the rebuild in the middle of that run. Like, they were bad back then. And there's been some tough moments along the way. Some playoff losses, of course, that we all remember very well. Those are a different kind of feeling, when you're in that place. They've had some slow starts to seasons. They've overcome those.
I was trying to think about it. I was trying to find a comparable in-season moment in the Anthopoulos era. And the closest I came to was 21, when the Braves were really bad, or not really bad, but they were really mediocre. And then Ronald tore his knee.
Yeah.
That day, or the 2 or 3 days after that, that's the closest I can come to what this has felt like, quite honestly.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I still think that was in July of that year, and we all know what happened after that, but you're right. That wasn't this. The feeling was similar because of Ronnie and the fact that he was the budding superstar, was out for the season, all those things. But I'm going to just lay out what's happened. And I'm sure people know this, but just put it all in one thing here. Hold on for 1 second, Steven. This is going to get ugly, so you can close your ears if you want to. The Braves have now lost 7 straight games. That's bad enough in itself. They did it earlier this season. I get it, but that's really bad. They're now 10 games under 500 for the first time since 2017. 5 of those 7 losses, and the last 5, are pretty much all gut punches in some variety. Like, there are probably some degrees there. The 10-4 loss that I covered on Thursday probably being the worst of them, but all 5 of those, to varying degrees, were like really bad losses in a row without a day off. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horrible losses in a row. They now have 14 losses in the last 17 games for the first time since 2016. They now have 10 consecutive losses in games decided by 1 run, which is basically impossible. I know this is not always universally accepted, but the analytical belief is that 1-run games are not entirely random, but there's a lot of randomness in 1-run games. To lose 10 of them in a row is very hard to do. Astronomically unlucky, or bad performance too. I'm not playing on luck, but just big picture, hard to do. And they've also lost 13 straight games decided by 2 runs or more. Sorry, 2 runs or fewer. So basically, they've lost every close game for 3 weeks now, which is actually really hard to do. And look, it's to lose 5. By the way, the last 5 losses in a row have been 1-run games, all 5. They're the first team in baseball to lose any 5 games in a row by 1 run since May of 2022. So it's been 3+ years since any team, bad team, good team, any team, has lost 5 straight 1-run games on 5 straight days. So that's the snapshot. They also have the most 1-run losses in baseball this year by a lot. Our guy, Sean Coleman, our colleague, has this great stat. That's not great for the Braves, but a great stat. So they have 19 1-run losses this year. most in baseball. That's 5 more than any National League team. That's hard to do. It's June 8th. It's not like it's October. Sean's stat is those 19 one-run losses in the first 64 games. So almost a third of the Braves' games so far have been one-run losses. That's the most one-run losses in 64 games since 1992 by any team. That was the Dodgers in 1992. There were 5 teams last year in baseball who didn't have 19 one-run losses in the entire season. It is June 8th. I don't even know what we're doing here, Stephen. Like, I mean, in some ways, this is a very measured, analytical podcast. A lot of the time, we have emotions too. But I said this this is actually crazy. 2 losses ago, I tweeted, I don't know what to say. And I'm still there. I mean, we're talking on a podcast. I got notes, but I don't even know what to say about what's going on here. It's like the worst possible combination of bad performance, losing every coin flip game, bad vibes. Like, there's just nothing good. I mean, other than Bryce Elder on Saturday, what was good in the last 3 days? I don't know.
Well, on Wednesday, Sean and I did a show, and I was done on Wednesday. Like, I was in full negative mode.
We all were. That was 4 days ago.
And that was before the next day, which was probably the worst loss in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
I know the Colorado loss happened last year, but yeah, I mean, the vibe of the team is, I mean, they're 10 game. They're almost, I think they're 9.5 games back of the wild card. They're 14 games back in the NL. I mean, the NL East is basically over for the Braves.
I mean, Scott said, so Scott and I talked almost a week ago now, and Scott said the division is basically shot. And that was a week ago. And they haven't won a game since then, Steven.
Yeah, they've lost like 6 games in the division since then.
I mean, if we wake up on September 8th and it's competitive in the division, that'll be a miracle. But until it's like they're within 5, I'm not even thinking about the division. So it's probably not going to happen at all, if I had to guess right now. And we said that, again, 4 or 5 days ago. It was like, all right, it's wild card or bust. And you just said this, but I don't want to gloss over it. The Braves on June 8th are 9.5 games out of the 3rd wild card spot. If you told me the odds of that happening by June 8th, I would have told you, I mean, it had sub 1% chance. No matter what you think about the Braves coming into the season, I know people want to fire Alex now. They want to fire Stent. All that stuff we can talk about if you want to. Go back 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is. Even the biggest pessimist in the world on the Braves would not have thought they were going to be 9.5 out of the 3rd wild card spot on June 8th. It's unthinkable, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if I had said to you at the beginning of spring training on June 8th, the Braves would have a positive run differential. They have scored. They have scored more runs than they've allowed this season, and are 9.5 games behind the 3rd wild card spot.
It's impossible. That combination is impossible.
6 teams ahead of. I mean, that's the other thing. They got 6 teams ahead. The odds of you catching all of these teams. I mean, the Braves playoff odds have gone from one of the highest in the league at the start of the season, behind probably only the Dodgers and maybe the Yankees, to probably down to in the low teens, honestly.
This is not gospel, but it's a good metric. Fangraphs has their playoff odds. They update every day. They were like in the mid-90s preseason.
Yeah.
And that might have been high. Fangraphs does like the Braves a lot. Their projections like the Braves. Let's just say that out loud. But even if they don't love that, we'll call it 90. It was above 90, but we'll call it 90. To go from 90 to where they are now, they were 24% this morning before they lost. They haven't updated yet for tomorrow. As of Monday, it's probably lower. Obviously, it's going to be lower than that. We'll say 20. To go from 90 to 20 in 2 months, with what you just said, they've outscored their opponents. And look, we're not, just to get out in front of this, we are a podcast that follows process very closely, more than a lot of fans do. I get that. We're not excusing anything at this moment. Like, we're as mad as everybody else is. They're not playing well. No one's saying that. But there is a certain level of team quality that you have to be a positive run differential team after 64 games. And to have them do that and also be 27-37. Like, one more thing here. They're 2.5 games behind the Nationals. That's really bad because the Nationals are not very good. They've outscored the Nationals by 54 runs. They're basically been a run per game better than the Nationals, and they're still 2.5 games behind them in the standings. So basically what I would say, I don't know if you agree with me, Steven, the Braves are not playing well and haven't played well for most of the season. That seems very clear to me. And and they've also been pretty unfortunate to this point. And the combination of those two things is enough to drive anyone into an early grave, basically. It's like they're playing like crap and they're getting unlucky at the same time. And that's how you look up in your 27 and 37.
Yeah, I mean, they've actually played like a 500 team, which is not good for this talent level, for this payroll.
Agreed. Strongly agree with that 100%. But you're right. They play like a 500 level team. And that's 5 games better than they've actually
And then on top of that, you've got this one-run loss. I mean, listen, the Marlins did this a couple of years ago when they made the playoffs, just winning the Marlins were terrible that year, but they won every single one-run game they were in. And literally one-run game luck can wreck or make a season. I mean, it's happened on the other way too. So, and that's where the Braves are. Just they cannot win a one-run game to save their life. And if you don't win one-run games and you play as many as the Braves do, in large part because of the offense, this is where you end up. And that's by the way, that's the only way to end up here with a positive run differential in 10 games under 500.
It's lose every close game.
You can't win a one-run game.
And look, we're not saying that's good. It's obviously bad. 100%. Like, both can be true. The Braves have disappointed in a vacuum. Even their numbers, the expected numbers that we do value more than some fans do, they're not gospel either. They've played better than 27 and 37, but they haven't played well enough anyway. Like, This is supposed to be a really good 95-win team. It has fully not been that, for sure. So, look, I'll make the comp in a second. Actually, I'll tease this out for a second and give you my most recent – the team that's been stuck in my head. It's not a Braves team. People have been asking us which Braves team this compares to. It's not a Braves team. We'll get into that in a second. First, though, a word from our partners on the show today.
FT fan by now, you know if you're buying, selling, trading, collecting cards, Arena Club is the spot. We've been talking about them all season long, but I do want to focus on the slab pack experience, Kratz, since you've been ripping some slab packs digitally. And what happens?
I mean, as a kid, you wanted to rip open the packs. How can they do this digitally? Oh, baby. This is exciting, how the graphics come out and everything. And, oh, yeah, the card that you pull, you can actually get that, John, physically. So it's perfect. It's all in one place, and it's a super exciting experience.
Yeah, they send that to you from the vault if you want it. But if you look at it and you're like, it's not the card for me, I want to sell it back, go for it. You can do any of that on Arena Club, and you can acquire the best value for your money with those slab packs, transparent checklists, and Arena Club's Slab Safe program. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/FAL and use code FAL. arenaclub.com/FAL, use code FAL.
Okay, Steven, I'll pay off the tease if you missed it from before the break. Basically, there's a team that I can't get out of my head with this Braves team. And it's actually, because look, not every Braves fan follows the entire league. I get that. In 2023, so not that long ago, 2 years ago, the San Diego Padres had a team that had big-time expectations. They had Juan Soto. That was the Juan Soto in San Diego year. They were not all in, but kind of all in to win that year. And basically, they had the season from hell, which the Braves are kind of having right now. And that Padres team was, and by the way, this is actually crazy. They ended up 9-23 in one-run games for the full season. And that's terrible. That's really unlucky. That's like horrible outlier bad. The Braves are currently 9-19, and it's June 8th. So they're probably going to lose more one-run games than that Padres team lost. But that Padres team, I am pretty sure was, I'm looking at this now. They had a plus 104 run differential for the season, which is really good. And they went 82-80 because everything went wrong on the margins. Now that team was playing better than this Braves team, so it's not a perfect comparison by any means. But that was a team that just like, again, season from hell. That's the best way I could describe it. It's like every close game they lost, every little thing that could have gone wrong went wrong. When they had it go well, they won by 10, like the Braves are this year. They're winning by 6-7 runs when they win. And then when it's close, they lose every time. So I don't know if that's going to continue. It could stop now. I know that no one wants to bring that point up. The Braves could suddenly be good now. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think it's probably not going to happen, to be honest. But that team has been kicking around my head because everybody's asking me, I don't know about you. Do you have a team that's a Braves team recently that's reminding you of this? Because for me, it's not really there. Like, you can maybe stretch parallels to some teams, but I'm not seeing it.
I mean, there's not been a team in the Anthopoulos era that's done this. even going back to like the really disappointing teams, like the 2014 team that kind of kicked off the rebuild, even that was, they played well early and then collapsed in September, which is a completely different thing here. So I mean, you would have to go back. I can't remember any of like when they were winning 14 straight division titles. I can't imagine any of those teams started ever at any point 10 games under 500. So you'd have to go back 30, 40 years probably before you found some. And even in the 80s, they were expected to be so bad. I mean,
right. It's the combination that it's making everything worse. And I know everybody processes this stuff differently. I'll be the first to acknowledge that. Like, I am someone who's wired to be like, everybody kind of chill on both directions. If the Braves were, I don't know, if the Braves were up by 10 in the division right now, I would be the guy that's saying, hey, everybody, it's gone perfectly so far, but you can't assume that's going to happen moving forward. I'd probably be that guy. And until about a week ago, I was still like, all right, I think they're going to be okay. And I said that on the show. And then a week ago, or maybe 4 or 5 days ago, when Scott and I talked last on this podcast, it was basically like, this is the worst I felt about the team all year long. And I felt pessimistic for the first time, really pessimistic. And again, Stephen, they haven't won since then. So imagine how much less optimism I feel in my soul right now. So we don't have to keep relitigating like the big picture. I mean, we can, but even the way that these 5 losses unfolded, where they were all differently brutal, like it was like they were drawing up ways. I think you said like creating new ways. You're right, to lose these games. And the all-timer was Thursday. I called it that. I mean that. But to lead in every game, or at least have a comeback in every game, to lose on a walk-off wild pitch, we'll talk about, to lose on a walk-off 2-run homer when you're up by a run and you waste probably what's going to be the best start of Bryce Elder's life, if we're being honest. If you play the percentages, that's probably going to be the best start that he'll ever have in his life, and they lose on a walk-off and then on a walk-off home run. And then today was like more run-of-the-mill bad, as we'll get into, but they still led the game 3-1. And then ultimately, the deciding run of the game scored on an error in the 4th inning, and then no one scored again. Like, that's a pretty bad loss, pretty frustrating loss, and it was probably number 5 on the list of 5 in the last 5 games. I don't know, man. Do you want to talk about like games? We probably have to some degree, not with probably the same level of detail that we might sometimes, but we kind of have to, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we got to relive them at this point, so might as well get started.
All right, so quickly, I think Friday's the one. And by the way, if you missed anything from last week, I should plug. Thursday's show was not fun for me to record the first segment of. It was just me. Don't always love doing that. And then it was after a terrible loss. But the rest of that show was actually quite good. We had Gore Vidak on the show. He's a legitimate expert on the system, farm system-wise, prospects. That's a very listenable show after the first segment. Even if you're not a masochist, listen to that show. Still relevant at this point in time. Since then, they played 3 games. Friday, it was the aforementioned walk-off wild pitch. It's probably not that much. I have not much to add about Friday's game. They were down 3-0 after 2 errors in the first inning. And it was like, they're really going to do this now after they blew a 6-run lead. Now they can't field the ball. And then they dug out of it. Olsen hits a massive 2-run homer to tie the game. It's like, oh, maybe they'll right the ship here with a kind of memorable victory. Nope, they won't.
Yeah, so Friday obviously ended up being the Craig Kimbrel game, which we'll talk. We're going to talk about. Craig
we'll come back to that
separately in a minute. But yeah, the game started off. I mean, Schwellenbach got kind of BABIP'd around in the first inning. A lot of weak contact. There was errors.
2 errors.
2 errors. Austin Riley's having. We'll get into Austin later. I can't talk about Austin right now. It makes me too mad. But he's having a very weird season defensively. He made a couple of great plays after that. But he's just having a very weird year defensively. So the Braves were down 3-0 like that, and this was after the worst loss any of us have ever seen, maybe in our lifetime, the day before. So the vibes were at an all-time low. Credit to the offense. They did come back, get the game tied. And I love Sean Murphy. I've defended Sean Murphy. They called that a wild pitch at the end. I guarantee you Sean Murphy would tell you he has to have that. He tried to backhand it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. That is a wild pitch by definition. So they have to call it that. But you're 100% right. This is a pro Sean Murphy podcast. That was a bad moment by Sean Murphy.
Yeah.
Very bad.
With a winning run on third, you can't try to backhand.
Yeah, you can't do it. Bad moment for sure. There's no defending that. I think he's actually had a good season, but that was not a good moment for Sean Murphy. And also we'll fast forward in a second. and made people think that Pierce Johnson didn't pitch well on Friday, which was
Yeah.
100% not true. You come into the game in extra innings with a guy at second base. He got out, and then quote unquote wild pitch. He more than did his job in that moment. So the next day, as we'll talk about, he gets the home run, and people are like, this is 2 in a row for Pierce Johnson. I'm like, did you watch Friday? Like, that was not on Pierce Johnson. Anyway, I have nothing else to add. Friday's game was like allowed to be frustrating. They did get off the mat. If you want to find one small Sean Coleman bit of optimism, you could say they got off the mat and tied the game. Olsen had a big knock. That was a great swing. By the way, maybe this is just me. I keep looking. Matt Olson's currently leading the Braves in Fangraphs WAR and Baseball Reference WAR. He has been their best player this season. Do you think if you polled the fan base, they would agree with that, Steven?
There's not a chance in hell they would agree with that.
No, they wouldn't. But hey, he's been good. Are we good on Friday? Anything else to add? But besides bullpen, we'll get to the bullpen in a moment. We can move on.
We can happily move on.
We're flying through these on purpose because it's going to be rough. So Saturday's game was the one point of optimism clearly that we have to talk about, which is Bryce Elder. We've been critical of Bryce Elder. You were getting dunked on. I felt bad for you because you were right what you said. I'll let you talk about it, but correct me if I'm wrong. Your basic point in advance of the game on Saturday was that on paper, Bryce Elder against Logan Webb is not a good matchup for the Braves. Was that basically what you were saying?
Yeah. So when the Braves were down 3-0 on Friday in the first inning, I tweeted, not to be a downer, but tomorrow is Bryce Elder versus Logan Webb. And for people that don't know, Logan Webb, well, first of all, Logan Webb doesn't get enough. Logan Webb is one of the best pitchers in the National League. Yeah. And in all of baseball.
He literally finished number 2 in Cy Young in 2023. And then he made the All-Star team last year and finished 6th in Cy Young. He's basically been a top 7 or 8 pitcher in the baseball for 3 years now.
And never gets talked about.
Agreed.
Ever. So that tweet was, and Logan Webb destroys Atlanta. His numbers against Atlanta are absurd. So that tweet was mostly about Logan Webb, but I will admit some of it was about Bryce Elder.
Of course.
Because Bryce Elder is their 5th starter and Logan Webb is San Francisco's ace.
Correct.
So I tweeted that and people got very mad. And people got very, very mad. They were like, do you realize how much better Bryce Elder is pitched? And listen, I will 100%. I tweeted this out. I did not see the game of Bryce Elder's life coming. If I had seen that coming, I never would have tweeted that.
No one would have seen that game come. He had pitched better. We talked about that numerous times. I've heard you and Sean do it. I know Scott and I have done it, but I wanted to defend you. It was just like, man, people have reading comprehension problems in general on social media, which I understand. But I was like, he wasn't saying Bryce Elder's terrible. He is saying that Logan Webb is better than Bryce Elder because that is a bad matchup for. I mean, just objectively. I mean, Vegas, the Braves were like minus 200 dogs or something like that.
Well,
that was of the 3 games of the series in San Francisco, the worst matchup on paper by far was Saturday.
Yeah,
and that's not wrong to say. Now, I want to defend you. We'll move on now. So Bryce was awesome.
Like capital A, awesome.
Start of his life. And I don't say that in a negative way. He had basically the best start statistically by a Brave in a few years. If you factor in the length, because even Chris Sale, who won the Cy Young, does not go 8 innings.
Right.
Like Bryce went 8 innings, and to the point where fans were wanting him to go to the 9th. Like I agree with taking him out. If they let him start the 9th, I wouldn't have lost my mind because he was pitching that well. But I liked the move to take him out. Obviously, that bit them. But the fact that he was even a conversation means that Bryce was pitching out of his mind. 8 shutout innings, 12 strikeouts.
No walks.
He was just incredible. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. He had weirdness. I know he pitched well before he went down. He was kind of bad in the minors, and then his first start back was not incredible. It was competitive, but it was fine. This was something else. And look, kudos to him. Bryce Elder did anything you could possibly want him to do. It was a 100th percentile Bryce Elder start on Saturday, and he freaking deserved to win. He just did, and they did.
Well, and the team was coming off 2 horrendous losses, a 5-game losing streak. You got Logan Webb on the other side, and you pitched that game.
Yeah,
I mean, literally the game of his life. I mean, 12 strike, 8 innings. I don't think until the Giants got those 2 runs in the 9th, I don't think the Giants had a base runner for 6 of those innings. I mean, it was just 1, 2, 3 every time with 2 strikes. I mean, it was insanely good. all the credit in the world to Bryce Elder for that start. With that much on the line against that dude on the other side, with all the pressure, best game I've ever seen him pitch, and he deserves. That's why I eventually was just like, yeah, I'm going to apologize. Like that game was so good that even though my point was valid, it still deserved an apology because that's how unbelievable that game was. I mean, he was unreal.
Yeah, I said shutout. I know we allowed to run.
Oh, and I do want to say this: 1,000% you have to take him out. The top of the lineup is coming up for a fourth time. If he gives up 3 runs in the 9th and you lose, everybody is crucifying Snit, and
Correct.
rightfully so for leaving him out there to die. You have to go to a fresh reliever in that spot.
Yeah.
I did not have any problem with them taking him out.
I agree, and I know people are going to yell at us for that. That's fine. We don't have to agree with everybody on that, but it was 107 pitches at that point in time to, like, I get it. People want to talk about
I honestly thought him coming out with the 8th was aggressive.
It was. No, I agree with you. It was. And, again, this is no shade to Bryce Elder. Great. I want to be unequivocal in how good he was. He was awesome.
Unreal.
I would have taken him out, too. The decision to go to Pierce Johnson, we'll save the other bullpen discussion for later with the Kimbrel thing. But I wonder what you think about this one because, number one, so the Braves up by 1 run going to the 9th after Michael Harris hits a home run. By the way, Stick got ejected in this game. People wanted that. It happened.
That's right.
I don't know. I think it's always funny. People just think there's like a mythical power in an ejection, but it happened and they still lost. So
there's nothing people on Twitter love more to argue about than whether Snitch should or should not be ejected from a game.
Well, it's also this is my sociology take. I think because Bobby Cox is the all-time ejections leader, people just got weaned on that and liked when he got ejected sometimes. That's just my 2 cents. Anyway, fast forward. They should have scored more than 1 run when they scored before that. That was a problem as well. But we get to the 9th. We talked about this offline, you and I, and I think Scott even and Sean. But I think we've decided the first time in the Raisel Iglesias era in Atlanta that he was seemingly available to pitch and did not get the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. Like, this is a prime, it is going to be Iglesias, turn the lights out spot. And because of how bad he had been, he earned not having the role, for sure. Snit was non-committal on Friday when he was asked about whether he would be the closer or not. He didn't say no, but he didn't say yes. And that's kind of like hey, it's probably not going to be him anymore. And they go to Pierce Johnson. And I alluded to it earlier. Pierce got unlucky on Friday. Didn't really do anything wrong. By the numbers this season, and by especially the more advanced numbers, he's been their best right-handed reliever. Aaron Bummer has been their best reliever this season by the numbers. But Pierce Johnson is probably their best natural closer candidate that is not Iglesias. That's my opinion. Do you agree with that? And what did you think about going to Pierce in that spot? Obviously, we know now it didn't work. So if you want to be only a results-oriented person, obviously it was quote-unquote the wrong move because he gave up a home run. But going into the 9th, what did you think about going to Pierce Johnson?
By process, I had no problem. So you have to remember that coming up for the Giants, they had the guy leading off, I can't remember his name, but he was a left-hander. And then they had 3 righties. They had Ramos, they had Flores, and they had Chapman. So you had their best 3 hitters are all right-handed. So you had their best 3 right-handed hitters coming up. So you absolutely need to put whoever you think your best right-handed reliever is at the moment is the guy that needs to come in. And right now, that guy is Pierce Johnson.
I agree.
I know it should be Raisel Iglesias. Right now, it's not. And I credit the team for finally admitting that because we've gone through seasons in the past where the closer's been bad, and it's taken them a long time to admit that.
I think they would have honestly. They were trying not to, and I think Iglesias just made him.
He was just so bad they just couldn't avoid it anymore.
Yeah, I mean we've seen some. I'm thinking about Will Smith when he was carrying ERAs in the 5s or 6s, and they kept it because there would be enough. Like every once in a while, Will Smith would have a week where he was good, and it was like, all right, that's enough to stem the tide. And Iglesias just hasn't really given them that at all. So we agree. I know that there are people that hate Pierce Johnson, whatever. This bullpen's a mess. And that's not up for discussion.
I think Pierce is the only one that's actually closed game. Like Pierce Johnson has closed games before.
He has closer. Closer experience. Whatever you think about that, it is what it is. But my point is, who would you rather have seen?
Yeah, exactly.
No one could give me an answer to that. Like De Los Santos.
Yeah,
that's who you want to go to over Pierce Johnson. Daysbell's on the IL, and by the way, has not been good this year. I know he has a low ERA. He just has not been good. There were great options. Aaron Bummer, again, has been the best reliever this year. Sorry, everybody. He has been by a pretty decent amount, honestly.
By a wide margin.
But anyway, it didn't work. I honestly, look, Snit is certainly in the crosshairs right now. Anytime a team that does this and underachieves to this degree, the manager is going to get heat. You can debate on how much heat he should get. Like, I have a hard time, and I get it. This loss combined with all the other losses is like fire Snit. I totally get it. I don't think Snit did anything wrong in this game. I really didn't. I thought he was like, he did what I would have done. Like, doesn't mean I'm right, but I thought there was like.
He also got ejected in the 6th inning.
Yeah, he got ejected. He wasn't even in there. That's right.
I don't even know if he was making that decision.
I blame Walt Weiss.
Walt Weiss. Fire Walt Weiss.
Fire Walt Weiss. Okay, so that's the game on Saturday. I don't even know what else to say about that. All right, Stephen. One more break to hear from our partners. We'll quickly hit on Sunday, and then there's a lot of bullpen machinations. The bullpen's turned over quite a bit in the last few days. We'll get into all of that and more after a word from our partners.
Hey, if you want to keep the conversation going after a show that you're listening to on the FT network, then head to Chat BCC. AJ's on there.
I'm on there right now, typing away. I'll be there. We'll be there all the time, talking about what topics people want to discuss, what everyone wants to hear us talk about on Foul Territory.
Yeah, if you have a question, we can answer it on FT or on an FT team show on the network. So if you want to come crash our group chat, it's as easy as sending a text. Head to foulterritory.chat to start chatting with FT hosts and the FT fam.
Okay, Stephen. Sunday's game, kind of run-of-the-mill painful. Not the same level as some of the others. They have a 3-1 lead after 3.5 innings. By the way, all 3 runs driven in by Matt Olson, who had a good weekend. Strider doesn't look great. Do you want to talk about it now? Again, I don't really want to. I'm not in the mood to talk about Strider, but it is what it is. If you want to talk about it, we can.
Yeah, it's just wait and see. We just gotta wait and see. I'm not ready for any definitive statements yet.
We agree on that. He's not looking great right now. We can say that he's not pitching at his elite level. That's for sure.
Correct.
But he walks the first 2 guys in the 4th, which is not what you want with a 2-run lead, and then allows a 2-run double to tie the game. So that's just on him. It's 3-3 now, and then we couldn't have known. It's the 4th inning. Again, it's not the 8th inning. It's the 4th inning. The final run of the game scores on a error by Ozzy Albies. Bad moment. Obviously, like, it wasn't any worse than some of the other errors that happened this weekend. You mentioned the one by Riley on, I think it was Friday. It's as funny as this is to say, the Braves have been really good defensively as a team this season, by the numbers.
Now, a lot of that is Michael Harris and Nick Allen and
Matt Olson and the catchers.
Yeah, exactly.
The 4 of them, basically, the shortstop, center fielder.
And Acuna has been weirdly awesome.
Well, Acuna's arm has been incredible. So
he made a diving catch today. It's been just weirdly awesome. Yeah.
And left field's not like horrific with the guys they're playing, but Riley's had a bad year. Ozzy's not great, but they've had a really, really, really good defensive season as a team.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes to back what we said before. Like, it's so brutal that this is all happening the way that it is because they've been playing good defense. It's probably been their only thing that they've done well this year on the whole. Let's play defense. So should have been in a third out of the inning, allows a run. That shouldn't kill you. Like, you should be able to score a run in the last 5 innings of the game, Stephen.
I'll tell you,
and they couldn't.
I'll tell you what frustrates me about those 2 games, the last 2 games, is yes, Saturday's game ended in heartbreaking fashion, and today's game is not as brutal, but it was bad. No. But in both games, there was opportunities where the Braves could have added on runs, had runners at third base, less than 1 out. And on Saturday, Acuna struck out. And listen, Acuna's been awesome. Acuna has been capital A awesome. But the Braves keep getting in these situations where they can add on a very important run, which turns out to be a very important run. They don't do it. It happened again today. Matt Olson hits that double off the wall to drive in 2. They immediately throw a wild pitch. So Matt Olson is at third. Azuna strikes out. And like, Azuna and Acuna have been 2 of their best hitters. So I'm not ripping these guys overall, but every single night there is a moment where the Braves can add on runs, and they don't. And when you're losing this many 1-run games in a row, every single run you don't get is massive. And Azuna's in a whole, we can talk about Azuna if you want, about the hip and,
Yeah, I mean, he's hurt, and I think you said it today. He's one of his last 24 or something like that.
His last 24.
He had a bad week. He looks not great. Look, props to him for gutting it out, like playing hurt, obviously. Yeah. But I mean, you mentioned like a Saturday, just to be more specific, like they had bases, they did score a run, but they had bases loaded, no outs, so they got 1. And it's like,
Yeah,
you're supposed to,
Matt Olson popped up, and that's exactly.
he sure did. And he had a really good weekend. That was a bad moment for him. So
these
like,
are dudes that have come through in other spots, but like
Exactly.
in these specific moments, they're just failing over and over. And no one knows why.
it's a sequencing issue. I mean, the offense has not been good anyway. Not to really get the whole thing again, but if you just simulated their numbers, their OPS, their WRC plus, whatever number you want to use, and said how many runs should they have, they should have more runs than they have.
Yeah.
It's been sequencing problems and clutch problems and rare score position problems and all these things that you want to fix. And maybe it's,
they get the fewest amount of runs out of almost every rally they have.
They sure do. And it's maddening. So yeah, they didn't score enough today. I put the loss, as much as Strider was not great today, I put that loss on the offense, to be honest.
I mean, it was 3 earned runs in 6 innings.
Yeah, he did recover, and the bullpen threw 2 scoreless innings, and you just had opportunity after opportunity to score, even in the 9th. I mean, I will say, Alex Verdugo, this is Sundays we're talking, so I remember this now. It's fresh in my mind. Verdugo got struck out looking in the 9th on a pitch that was a foot outside, and it's like, come on, man. Like
the home plate umps in this series were atrocious.
We can leave it there, but you're right, 100%.
Holy
you're right.
Cow.
Okay, we tease it enough. Other than the losing, which is not a small factor, the big story over the weekend was the bullpen transaction cycle, headlined by potential future Hall of Famer Craig Kimbrel, right? So just to lay it out, Kimbrel comes up finally. We've been seeing he would for a couple months now, 6 weeks now, whatever it is. And he had this good ERA in the minors, but not great peripheral stuff and all this stuff. He comes up on Friday, big hullabaloo, the return, all these things. He pitches. He doesn't give up any big stuff, which is always the thing. You can always tell who cares about process stuff and who doesn't when it comes to ERA versus other stuff in pitching. Prime example here. Kimbrel sits 91-92 with the fastball. Everyone that was there was like, he did not look good at all. Like, to me, looked like a maybe like an 8th guy in the bullpen would have been fine, but like, he does not profile as a difference maker at all. If he was not named Craig Kimbrel, no one would care what was happening right now. But he is Craig Kimbrel. So there's this factor about like how you handle him, because so he comes up Friday. Spoiler alert if you missed this, he's DFA'd the next day after not getting up 4 runs, like just throwing a clean, not clean, but a 0-run inning, right? And then there's the outright cycle because they just lost the game again, all the stuff. So we'll stop here. Oh, one more thing. Then it gets around on Twitter or whatever that the Braves paid him $2 million to pitch 1 game, which is, in case you've seen this, flatly incorrect. He got paid a prorated number for a few days of work because you get waived, so you're still on the team technically for a couple more days. It's like $20,000 or $30,000, which in baseball parlance is nothing, essentially. So let's just dispel that right now. He did not get paid $2 million. And by the way, Stephen, I'll say this with confidence. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong. If the Braves actually had to pay him $2 million and would have risked that, they wouldn't have called him up.
Correct.
That's what would have happened. People were like, oh, they would have kept him. No. They would have called him in the first place. That's what would have happened. They would have released him in the minors. So I'll throw it to you. What did you make of this? Because since then it was Austin Cox, and then it was just the fresh arm that was around. Then they claimed Jose Ruiz off waivers from the Phillies. Neither one of them are very good. So they're being compared to Craig Kimbrel, which is, I get why, because those are the guys that came. But that's only one part of this. But what did you make of the Kimbrel saga? It was obviously a big story.
Okay, so there's 2 parts of this that I want to keep very separate. The first part is Kimbrel, the pitcher, in 2025. And I think this podcast specifically did a good job. We've talked about it for months, managing people's expectation of what Craig Kimbrel looks like in the minors. We have StatCast data in AAA now. Every pitch he threw in Gwinnett was cataloged. Everybody knew. And we tried to tell people over and over again, this is not 2013 Craig Kimbrel. He is not throwing 98. He is throwing 91, 92, 93. He's got iffy command. This is what, if you listen to this podcast, what you saw on Friday night should not have been a surprise.
Agreed.
So I have zero problem with the Braves deciding he has no business being in a major league bullpen. I didn't think he belonged in them. Sean asked me on Wednesday what I thought. I was completely indifferent to the Kimbrel thing. I'm I'm not a nostalgia guy anyway, so like that stuff doesn't really affect me the way it affects others. I just didn't care. I have no problem that he's not on the team. So I want to put that aside. And I think you agree with that. The part that I don't get is the process they went through.
I also agree with this, because this is where I don't know if Alex cares, but I think the way they did this was just designed and allowed to piss off the fans.
Yeah, like
honestly,
they chose the worst possible PR way to handle this. Correct. With the minimal amount of gain. Like, all right, so you have the big blow up on Thursday. The bullpen blows up and it's embarrassing. And so they make the move. They announce the move almost immediately, or they don't announce it, but it gets leaked almost immediately. Kimbrel's coming up. They're going to San Francisco. So they have to fly Craig Kimbrel 5 hours out.
It's not a home game.
Not a home game. Fly him out to San Francisco, and as soon as you call him up, it's going to be a big media thing. The prodigal son returns. This kid was an all-time closer for the Braves a decade ago.
Yep.
So they do the whole media thing on Friday. They actually do a thing where they sit Kimbrel down and talk about like what his role is going to be. Because I found this really weird. Like Snit came out and was like, we're never going to pitch him before the 5th inning. Like they said all this stuff to the media. Like he might close some, he might get some high leverage, which is wild. Which is wild. But they did all this. So they went through this whole process. He looked exactly like he looked in the minors, which was 91, 92, 93 with bad command. He was lucky to get through the inning he got through unscathed. They also brought him out in high leverage. They brought him out in the 7th inning of a tie game with the top of the lineup up.
Which was insane behavior.
Behavior.
Yeah, agreed.
He looks exactly like he looked the entire minor league season. Gets out of the inning scoreless. The next morning, they DFA him. Send his ass back to – now he's got to fly back to Atlanta 5 more hours. And so
it's all weird.
This got picked up on national level. Like it just looks like you just jerked around a franchise legend for no reason. You gain nothing from it.
This is why, look, I think we've somewhat earned our reputation as being kind of analytical compared to a lot of people, right? And we agree, you and I agree on the baseball part of this 100%. Like, I don't think they should have called Kimbrel up, especially now that we've seen what happened. Like, it would have been so much better to not call him up and just quietly say, "Hey, Craig, we wish you the best, man. Go find
you're not a major league caliber reliever anymore.
Whatever it is going to be, don't do this." Like they chose the worst. And I know people think we just defend Alex all the time. But number one, we don't. We criticize a lot this winter for sure. But like this was mangled. It was like, and the impact on the baseball side is not a big thing. But like you just pissed your fans off. That's that. I don't want to use any, if that's crass or whatever. That's what happened. People were very mad. Whether it was the normie fan who's not on social media, or the people that follow us, diehard podcast listeners, everyone was like, "What is happening here?" And look, like this is where it matters that it's Craig Kimbrel. On the baseball side, it shouldn't matter a lot that it's Craig Kimbrel, if at all. For the PR like handling side, this is a guy that you had a relationship with, that is like maybe going to be in like the Braves Hall of Fame, if nothing else. Like probably going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, honestly. If we see, might be. Like to do this to him is like really bad. Like what are you doing? And then my only thought, and this is a total guess. I think I texted this to you the other day. I just wonder if Alex was like, "Wait, Snit's going to use him in the 7th inning in high leverage. I can't let him do this." But my thing is, you should have known that was coming. Like that's not a defense of Alex. That's bad process. I'm just saying, like the only thing I could possibly think of to justify this is like he didn't want to give Snit the club in the bag. But like, then don't call him up, man. Like, what are we doing here? I don't know. It was an insane handling of all of it. I just don't understand any part about it. It didn't help the team. I mean, Kimbrel was bad last year, throwing harder than he's throwing now. People have kind of forgotten that or whatever. They don't follow the rest of the league. Kimbrel had an ERA of like 6 last season when he was still throwing 94, 95. Now he's throwing 3 miles an hour slower. Like he's not going to suddenly be good. It's just not going to happen.
There's nothing that they learned on Friday night that they didn't already know on Thursday night.
And if they did, that's a problem. They shouldn't have needed that one
and
inning.
if it's a thing where Alex didn't know that Snit was going to use, that makes it look even. It makes it just looks like you have
call him on the phone.
Yeah, you have no idea what's going on your club, and that's the other part of this is that the club is coming off multiple instances of embarrassed. Like they were coming off the Snit AJ Smith-Shawver stuff. They got national news because it looked like Snit didn't really know what was going on. Snit has had multiple times this year where he's given comments post game where it's like, Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that happen. It looked like he's like just not paying attention.
The PR cycle has been really, really bad.
Like
for
you had absolutely no reason to just. I mean, they just voluntarily decided I want a public black eye for 24 hours.
It doesn't make any sense.
And got nothing for it.
It's not totally divorced from this, but like at the same time, they were doing kind of a bullpen overhaul after the big blown lead, right? They end up trading Scott Blewett. They were going to DFA him, I think. They end up trading for cash. There's a whole Scott Blewett thing we don't have to talk about a lot right now, but for some reason, the fan base has decided he's like Mariano Rivera.
They love Scott Blewett.
His peripherals are terrible. Anyway, it doesn't matter for now. I thought it was fine to get rid of Scott Blewett. I don't think it was like they had to, but I thought it was fine. Montero's owed money and Blewett's not. I think that's what it came down to. That's my best guess. But that happened. Daysbell goes to the IL with apparently a forearm issue, which was a new thing we didn't know about. Daysbell has, by the way, 21 strikeouts and 20 walks this season. Like you can't live at that number. So anyway, that's weird. They call up Dylan Dodd. Great. Dylan Dodd I actually kind of like, so that's fine. But you go from one bullpen and you turn over like 40% of your bullpen in one day. And then included in that is Kimbrel. And then you make 2 consecutive transactions after that it's Austin Cox, then it's Jose Ruiz. And then we don't know. We're recording Sunday night. They could do something else for Monday. We don't know.
And I'll say this. If you just needed an arm for Friday because of how bad Thursday went, you don't call up Craig Kimbrel.
No.
You call up some random.
You call up Austin Cox, who's the guy you called up anyway. Like he's on your team.
And they
got him for the Royals.
They know that. They know that. That's what I can't make sense. Like, again, as a podcast, I could care less that Craig Kimbrel is not on the team anymore. I don't think he's a major league pitcher and haven't all year. And I don't think anybody on this podcast has, and we've said as much. It's the process by which they did it, which was just voluntarily a black eye for the organization for 24 hours for no reason.
While not believing too much in Kimbrel, I would have been totally fine if they gave Kimbrel a week or two, called him up and said, all right, Craig, if you look good, we'll keep you or whatever. That it wouldn't have enraged me. Nor do they have to do that.
Once you call them up, that's what you have to do.
That's where we 100% agree. It's like, okay, they're doing this dance. It starts getting reported. Rosenthal had it. Our colleague was like, hey, he has an opt-out or whatever it's going to be. Like the Braves have to match or something like there was this weird language in the contract, all these things. It's like, all right, if we're going to do – I think we all assumed on that Friday, all right, it's Kimbrel time for like a week or two.
Yeah.
And if he looks bad, maybe they'll cut him. But the thing is, and we'll move on, I promise – people like us, that outing wasn't going to change our minds, no matter what happened, right? But the fact that he didn't allow a run, and then you waived him,
makes it look worse.
Makes every fan that doesn't care about process like, what are you talking? I know. By the way, he allowed 2 base runners. He didn't look good at all. But if your only outing for your franchise legend is a scoreless inning, you cannot explain to 70% of fans in the world why you did that.
And I'll end with this because I had a ton of people sending me this as a possible explanation. I had people saying to me, okay, well, maybe they were just doing it so like Kimbrel could say that he finished his career with the Braves, giving him kind of one outing. Here's what I'll say to that. If you're doing that, you're doing that in Atlanta.
Yes.
So he gets the home crowd. You're giving him a low leverage inning, and you're probably mentioning it beforehand that this is going to be like his last outing so fans can come. Like, you're not doing that on the road in a high leverage inning. Like, there's
and not that this matter that much. At 10:15, no, when he pitched, it was like 12:30 in the morning on Friday night.
Half Atlanta was asleep. I mean, there's no. I saw the number of people that tweeted me that were incredible. There's no chance that's what it was.
But honestly, to defend those people, I do understand thinking, what in the world were the Braves doing here?
There's literally no explanation for it.
We have adequately laid that out, like our confusion on this. I think they botched this. Like, I don't want to make it like into a national emergency, but like they botched this. I think that was a silly thing to do, Alex. Whoever made this, and it comes to Alex. This is on Alex. You can't say
that's 100%
on Alex. Yeah. He messed that up. All right, Stephen, we got to get out of here. But I mean, do I even want to ask the question of what happens now with this team? I guess we don't have to do this, but they go to Milwaukee. They play 3 games in Milwaukee. That's what's actually happening now. They go no off day. The rare back from the West Coast with no off day. They had an early game today. They play Monday night in Milwaukee. The Brewers are not incredible, but they're 35-31. They're better than the Braves right now. They do have Sale on the mound on Monday. Advantage Braves. They're favored in the game. I'll leave it for you. If you want to get off a take about the rest of the season, feel free. We don't have to do that. We've talked about a lot on this podcast, but it is still June 8th, and they're still in trouble.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Alex said he did a Zoom press conference at the beginning of last week, and this was before the bottom completely fell out. That they were already in like full aggressive mode, going to make changes. Obviously, we saw that with the bullpen this week, but like I'm very curious over the next 3-4 days. Like, are they making trades? Or is any more coaches like we're to the point
so early too? Like I know people want trade, and I get why, but generally speaking, like impact trades don't happen on June 8th. Like it doesn't mean it's impossible, but it just does not.
And if you do it, you usually have to overpay because you got to convince a team not to hold on to this piece for another month and a half. I mean, at this rate, at some point we're going to have to talk about like how much can the Braves get for Marcell Ozuna at the trade deadline? Because
we're going to have the conversation if they're still doing this, and like I don't want to waste all our bullets on it, and that's always why we haven't talked about it more. I think is just like. It's still so early, but you're right. I mean, if they're this, and that's an if still, I'm not going to close. I know people want, in fact, I saw it before we started recording. Someone was like, well, now you guys have to say the season's over. It's like, well, no, I won't do that because my brain won't allow me to. But we did say they have like maybe a 15-20% chance to make the playoffs. Like that's not good. That's really bad. But like that's also not zero. So I'm not personally. You can if you want to, Stephen. I'm not going to come on the show on June 8th and say the season's over. It's bad. I think adequately laid that out for people on this podcast. But like, yeah, in a month from now, if they're still in this spot, we're gonna have at the All-Star break, by the way, which is in Atlanta, which is about a month from now. We'll be having some eager conversations about what they do in the trade market. And I think, by the way, it's Bob Nightingale, so I will express my reservations with that. But he's a National Baseball writer. Nightingale wrote, I believe it was today or yesterday, that the Braves are not going to sell. Basically.
Well, that's that's one point I did want to make is, and Sean and I have talked about this. The Braves have a middle of the road TV deal. They do not have the type of TV deal that just pays all the bills.
No,
they pay most of their bills from that stadium being full and that battery being full for 6 months for 81 games. And so when I say the Braves can't afford to sell, I mean that literally. They can't afford for that place to be empty, because if that place is empty for 3 months, you thought they cut payroll before. Wait until if that stadium is empty for 3 months, and they can't afford it. So on top of the fact they don't have a ton of great pieces to sell anyways, to be honest. Unless they put Chris Sale on the market, which is a whole separate conversation. But yeah, I don't see a world where they sell. I mean, I could see a world where they're so bad they don't buy much, but
yeah, we agree. And again, it's really early. There is a point where they're so bad they have to. But even Nightingale, I think it is in his writing. And again, it's Nightingale. It's not Rosenthal or Passan, but he did say the potential exception would be Ozuna. I think we agree. That's always been the guy that if they were going to sell, you sell the expiring contract, mid-30s DH only player. That's the guy.
Maybe relievers. Maybe
but Bummer.
Who?
I mean, Bummer, I guess.
Bummer's having a good season. Maybe you want to clear that $10 million. I don't know.
Sure, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And we'll get into all of this stuff. And yeah, look, as much as I defend Sean Murphy, there is a conversation you can have about trading Sean Murphy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you have to. Yeah. Well, fans are saying that. I am not saying that. But that is something you can at least talk about as reasonable people.
Yeah.
What I don't think you can talk about is like trading like everyone, which I see all the time. Like trade everybody. Like, okay, that's not gonna happen.
Trade Olsen, trade Riley. Yeah,
that's not a thing. Okay, Stephen, we've said enough. In fact, we thought it was gonna be a short one, and it's not a short one. But that's just probably because it's my fault. I tend to do long podcasts. Thank you for doing this. Number one. If you have anything else to share, feel free. If people find us for the first time today, God bless you for finding us for the first time. Stephen, where can they find you if they want to follow more? By the way, you slowly die on Twitter. I try not to tweet much at all, honestly, during games. I do sometimes do it, but to your credit, you are just always in the streets firing off stuff.
Yeah. Live tweeting games is my favorite thing to do. And it has gotten, obviously West Coast games are a different animal, but when they're playing like this, you could literally watch me slowly die on Twitter every night if you want to. Scott's in Hawaii. I think Scott's going to be back.
He is still in Hawaii. He'll be back in a few days. People were asking him. I have texted with Scott almost every day. He is alive. He's watching baseball. more than we wanted him to. Even before the Braves started losing, I said, Scott, don't watch baseball this week. Don't watch. And he can't stay away.
He picked a brilliant week.
Yeah, I did text. I'll reveal this. It's not private. The four of us have a group chat, and I said, well, after the game today, I said, well, Scott's not allowed to travel anymore, ever. I don't think, because things have not gone well since Scott got on a plane.
We're talking about pulling just a week out of nowhere. I mean, this is the week to be gone. So credit to Sean. But yeah, B_outliers is the X handle. A bunch of us still right over at Battery Power, so check that out. And yeah,
everyone but me, the three of them, Steven, Sean, and Scott, right at Battery Power. I am solemnly retired, but I still support them over there. Yeah, follow me if you want to at BT Rowland. There's basketball in there. For Steven, it's like mostly baseball, so you're safe. Yeah. I got basketball stuff I got to do, but follow me there if you want to. I do have. I've been tweeting about the Braves the last couple of days. Some ugliness.
I mean, it's been so bad. You
kind of have to.
I love your little drop-ins because you only tweet like twice a day about the Braves. And the last couple of days, it's just been, here's a tweet of just the horrificness that's happening.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm in. I go into beat writer mode because like that's what on the Hawks. I'm like more like beat writer. Like I cover everything on the Hawks. So I'm like, all right, I'll put my media hat on and I'm like, all right, here's what's happened the last few days. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, we'll stop rambling now. Follow the show at Hammer Territory as well, anywhere you find podcasts, especially, but also on social media. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube if you want to watch us slowly die on camera, or Apple, Spotify on the audio side, Overcast, etc. We will be here as always. I know there might be temptation. People were saying, take the day off. No. We don't generally do that unless we have to. So stay tuned. We will have podcast content for better and worse, as you've seen this week. So thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. Thanks again to Stephen for being here with me in pinch hit duty on a Sunday, and we'll see everybody next time.